The San Antonio Spurs have played 6 NBA Finals in their history. They lost exactly 1, and what this franchise did in the 12 months after that single loss might be the most important piece of history hanging over Game 2 tonight. Because if you want to know how San Antonio responds to finals pain, the answer is already written down. You just have to read it. 5 banners, 1 scar, and a Game 1 loss that just put this organization in territory it has barely ever visited. So before tonight, let's walk through the most polished finals resume in modern basketball, the one night it cracked, and the response that turned that crack into the most beautiful championship of its era. History has a lot to say about Friday. This is Game is Culture. Real quick, before we get into it, if you like breakdowns that actually show the math instead of just yelling takes at you, go hit subscribe. It's free and it genuinely helps, so click it. Start with the resume, because no franchise treats June like this one. 1999, 2003, 2005, 2007, 2014. 5 trips to the finals, 5 championships across 3 different decades and 3 different rosters. Then there's the 6th trip, 2013, the only time in franchise history San Antonio reached the final round and went home empty. And the game-by-game numbers are even more ruthless. Across all 6 of those series, the Spurs are 23-12 in NBA Finals games. A 65% win rate on the biggest stage that exists, sustained over a decade and a half of appearances. Most franchises dream of surviving June. This one has spent its history bullying it. Hold that resume up against Wednesday night, a home loss in a finals opener with the franchise's 6th banner on the line. For most teams, that's a rough start. For San Antonio, it's nearly unprecedented territory, and everyone inside that building knows which season the front office whispers about when finals adversity shows up. 2013. So let's talk about the one loss, because it still stings to watch. June 2013, the Spurs led the Miami Heat 3-2 and led Game 6 by 5 points with 28 seconds left. The yellow rope was literally around the floor for the trophy ceremony. Then came the missed free throws, the offensive rebound, and a corner 3 with 5 seconds on the clock that tied it. Miami survived in overtime, took Game 7, and the cleanest finals record in the sport had its first stain. Understand what that did to that locker room. Tim Duncan was 37. Manu Ginóbili looked finished. Every analyst in America wrote the same obituary that summer. The window is closed, the dynasty is done, the league has moved on. An aging team had just suffered maybe the cruelest loss in finals history, and the basketball world reached a full consensus about what came next. The consensus was wrong, because here's what actually came next. 12 months later, the same core dragged itself back to the finals, drew the same Miami Heat, and dismantled them 4-1. And the basketball inside that series became legend. The ball movement, the spacing, the unselfishness. Coaches still show those film sessions today. The team that had every reason to be broken produced the most beautiful championship run of its generation against the exact opponent that broke it. Think about the discipline that required. No panic trade, no fired coach, no roster teardown. The organization looked at the most painful loss imaginable and decided the answer was to keep the same people and sharpen the same system until it cut deeper. Pain went in, a masterpiece came out. That is the single most famous data point about how this franchise processes finals heartbreak. And that story lives in these walls. The current Spurs front office grew out of that era. The coaching staff traces straight back to that bench. The culture that turned 2013 into 2014 wasn't shipped out with the retired jerseys. It's the operating system this whole organization still runs on, and tonight is the first real finals stress test of whether it transferred to the new generation. Real quick though, if you've made it this far, you've really got to hit subscribe. I'm not going to beg, but I am going to ask, so hit it and I'll wait. Which brings us to tonight, the DNA test. 5 championships and 6 finals trips. That's the inheritance this young roster carries into Game 2. Wembanyama, Fox, Castle, Harper, none of them were here for the banners. All of them are wearing the jersey that earned them. Tonight we find out whether the response gene that defined 2 decades of San Antonio basketball got passed down, or whether it retired with the legends. And the early signs from Game 1 fit the family pattern in one specific way. Even on a horrific shooting night, the effort stats held. They won the glass. They kept the game inside 10. The 2014 lesson says you respond to finals pain with precision, with trust, and with the same people playing better. Tonight's first quarter will tell you whether this group read the family scrapbook. There's also a quieter parallel worth holding on to. The 2013 team lost its heartbreaker on the road and needed a full year for revenge. This team lost at home, with the rematch only 48 hours later. If anything, history's medicine arrives faster this time. The wound is fresher, the fix is sooner, and the opponent is still in the building. And understand what made the 2014 answer possible. Look around the league at how other franchises handle finals heartbreak. Stars demand trades, coaches get fired by July, front offices panic spend until the roster is unrecognizable. San Antonio watched the most painful loss in the sport's history and changed almost nothing except the details. More ball movement, sharper spacing, an extra pass on every possession. The revenge wasn't built on new players, it was built on the same players, refusing to flinch. So translate that into tonight's terms. The 2014 response would look like this. Same starting five, calmer hands, half the turnovers. The open threes that rimmed out on Wednesday getting shot with the same conviction because the math says they fall. No hero ball, no rotation panic, no fear. If this organization's inheritance is real, Game 2 won't look like a different team, it'll look like the same team, finally playing like itself. One last thing about that 2014 film, it has become required viewing far beyond San Antonio. Coaches across every level use it to teach what a team looks like when it refuses to be defined by its worst night. The current Spurs grew up watching that run the way the last generation grew up watching Jordan. Tonight, for the first time, the franchise that made the textbook gets to find out whether its own kids actually read it. Now the honest other side, because banners don't set screens. The men who built that 23-12 record are gone. Duncan is retired, Ginóbili is retired, Popovich isn't on this bench. A franchise's history can inform a young team, but it cannot rebound for them, and it certainly cannot guard Jalen Brunson. The Knicks aren't playing the ghost of 2014 tonight. They're playing 5 guys who have never won a finals game. And remember who's standing across from them. The 2013 Heat needed one of the luckiest shots in league history to crack the Spurs. These Knicks took Game 1 without luck. They walled off the paint, won the turnover war, and closed like professionals. If San Antonio's response gene is real, it's about to get the hardest examination any Spurs team has ever faced this early in a series. So I'm going to leave it with you. Does the franchise with 5 banners and 1 scar do tonight what it did in 2014 and answer pain with precision? Or do the Knicks make this the second scar and the start of a very different story? 6 finals, 1 loss. Tonight decides which number moves. So tell me down in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe. We're in a race to 1,000 subscribers, so please join the family.